Now in this video, I want to spend a bit more time on the object dependencies report. Now, if you remember in the very first video of Project Configurator, we did run this object dependencies report, and I thought I'll probably spend a bit more time today on this. Now, when you're performing migration of your project from one instance to another instance, you will definitely, most likely you will encounter situations where you will have to probably rename a custom field in your source instance, or maybe your target instance, or maybe you have to get rid of some objects like maybe custom fields, or maybe you have to get rid of some filters, for example, or maybe you have to worry about some users. Now, when it comes to migrating your configurations from one instance to another instance, you will also encounter a lot of conflicts, and that is quite obvious that you can expect. But when it comes to, let us say, finding or understanding where all your custom fields are being used, you need some kind of a quick way while you're performing this migration. So let us talk about this report. And in this particular report, you can basically understand objects like group, users, screens, custom fields. For example, custom fields is definitely something that will cause, it can cause some trouble. So you need to take care of your custom fields, because you may have a custom field called as, let us say, analysis or category or something that is already there on your source instance. Now, why I'm talking about custom field, like why I want to spend a bit more time on custom field. So let us say you encounter a field called analysis, and you want to, or when you are migrating your projects from one instance to another instance, on target you already have a field called analysis, or maybe you have more than one field called analysis with the same name or the same type. It can happen. Now, what you need to do, you need to then rename your custom field, and also in some cases rename that custom field name in all the places where that field is being used. Now, when it comes to, let us say, renaming a field, if you rename your custom field from your normal Jira issue interface, it will work. Of course, so renaming is simple, and it will also be reflected in various places, but not everywhere. Sometimes you might have to go to a workflow, and maybe if you're using some app like GSU, for example, or maybe some other app where the field was referenced by name, or the value is hard-coded, so you need to know where exactly or where all that particular field is being used. So this is of course one example of a custom field. For example, if you look at this particular report, I'm of course looking at custom field. So you can see here that this particular field called operational categorization is being used in various screens. If you scroll down, if you have a field like change completion date, it can be used in maybe your request type. So that is also a possibility. Let us try to understand. So most of the usage in my case, on my instance, is within a screen, which is fine, but your field can also be used in a workflow. So this is really important information, because you might have to modify the workflow. Yeah, you at least need to take a look at the workflow. Now, it depends exactly what you're doing. If you're renaming a field, then it should change. I mean, the reference should also use the renamed field, but not always. I mean, it depends on the app itself. Like maybe if you're using some third-party app that might be using the field by its name, so you need to take care of it. And this particular report is, of course, there for almost all the objects that you have. For example, groups. Now, your groups can be used in a permission scheme, for example. Now, you might need to get rid of or maybe modify your permission scheme based on the groups that are there already on target, so you don't really want any confusion. Maybe you want to rename your groups just in case. And also users are very important, because these are the people who will be using the tool. So if you think you encounter any conflicts, then do take a look at this report. Screens, as usual, is again important. Your screens can be used in either a scheme. When I say scheme, I'm talking about screen scheme or issue type screen scheme. No, not issue type screen scheme, but screen scheme. But it can also be used in a workflow. And talking about status. So again, statuses are used mostly in workflows. So do take a look at your statuses. Issue types, again, they are used in issue type schemes. They are also used in request types, because issue types are mapped to request types. So do take a look at it in case you are trying to understand. And of course the workflows, because when you are working on workflows, usually workflows are mapped to the issue types in the workflow scheme. Then of course you have event type. Like events are various events that are used mostly in the notification scheme, or maybe in a workflow if they are triggered. So this might need it depends. If you encounter any conflict, do take a look at the events. Also issue link types. So issue links are used. It can be used in various places, especially maybe you're using some automation rules, for example. So do take a look at this issue type linking. Also priorities are used in priority schemes, and priority schemes you can also see here, like all the schemes that you have in your instance. Workflows, again, we are back to workflows. So these are all the workflows and all the projects. Field configurations, again, one of the important aspect of making a field required or hidden. So field configuration can also be used. Project roles, very important. They are used mostly in the permission schemes. Permission schemes, again, you can take a look at all the permission schemes. We briefly looked at the issue type schemes above, but issue types are used in issue type schemes, and issue type schemes are of course mapped to projects. Similarly for the actual workflow schemes, where you can see the mapping of your workflow schemes to the project. So schemes are usually mapped to the projects, and within schemes you have configuration. So again, notification schemes will show you where all this particular scheme. I just have one, but you can have more than one, definitely. Where all, like, in what all projects these schemes are being used. Field configuration scheme, where you might want to take a look at the mapping of mapping of these schemes to the project, and the resolution. So resolutions are of course used mostly in workflows. Usually for a simple example is that you can have a post function that is changing the resolution to fixed or something based on the transition. So object dependency report is, in my opinion, a wonderful place to go and check how your different objects are linked to each other. I mean, of course, you can find this information yourself in case you have a lot of time. You can always spend time looking at your Jira instance, go to various configurations and dig for the information, or maybe you can write your own scripts. But the whole purpose of this particular feature here within Project Configurator, the whole idea was to basically help you and assist you. So when you're performing a migration and you encounter some problems or conflicts, then you can come back to this report, click on a button, and and take a look at the dependencies. If you have to, let us say, perform some cleanup, do the cleanup, and again run the report to see whether that reference appears here again or not. So this report is, as I mentioned before, is something that you will be using quite a lot in case you're performing a migration. And that is all I wanted to talk about in this video. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you also learned something new today. Thank you very much.